History has witnessed many conflicts and wars through the years, be it the Mongol invasions or the American Civil Wars or Napoleon's conquest afterwards. But the first time majority of the powerful countries came into the picture was during World War I, or the Great War, as it was known back then. World War I involved most of the nations of Europe, along with Russia, the United States, the Middle East, and other regions. The war pitted the Central Powers, mainly Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey, against the Allies, mainly France, Great Britain, Russia, Italy, Japan, and from 1917, the United States. It ended with the defeat of the Central Powers. The war was virtually unprecedented in the slaughter, carnage, and the destruction it caused. We will uncover the Great War brick by brick and take a stroll down the memory lane to honor the men who laid down their lives and also those who survived to pave way for our civilization to progress further ahead in time. Before we begin, do like our video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on incredible pieces of history we bring to you every week. World War I was one of the great watersheds of 20th century geopolitical history. It led to the fall of four great imperial dynasties in Germany, Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey, resulted in the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and in its destabilization of European society, laid the groundwork for World War II. The last surviving veterans of World War I were American serviceman Frank Buckles, died in February 2011, British-born Australian serviceman Claude Schul, died in May 2011, and British servicewoman Florence Green, died in February 2012, the last surviving veteran of the war. With Serbia already much aggrandized by the two Balkan Wars, 1912-13, 1913, Serbian nationalists turned their attention back to the idea of liberating the South Slavs of Austria-Hungary. Colonel Dragutin Dimitrijevic, head of Serbia's military intelligence, was also, under the alias APIS, head of the Secret Society Union, or DEATH, pledged to the pursuit of this pan-Serbian ambition. Believing that the Serbs' cause would be served by the death of the Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir presumptive to the Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph, and learning that the Archduke was about to visit Bosnia on a tour of military inspection, Apis plotted his assassination. Nikola Pašic, the Serbian prime minister and an enemy of Apis, heard of the plot and warned the Austrian government of it, but his message was too cautiously worded to be understood. At 11:15 a.m. on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, the Bosnian capital, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. This act of violence set in motion a series of events that would plunge Europe into war. Austria-Hungary's leadership, including Chief of Staff Franz Conrad von Hotzendorf and Foreign Minister Leopold von Berchtold, saw the assassination as an opportunity to assert dominance over Serbia. Backed by Germany's assurance of support, Austria-Hungary prepared to act decisively. On July 23rd, Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia, deliberately crafted to be unacceptable. When Serbia's response fell short of expectations, war was declared on July 28th. The next day, Austro-Hungarian artillery bombarded Belgrade. Events spiraled rapidly. Russia declared its intent to defend Serbia on July 24th, and by August 4th, Europe was fully engulfed in conflict. Germany declared war on France, invaded Belgium, and triggered Britain's entry into the war, fulfilling its obligation to defend Belgium's neutrality. Throughout August, declarations of war spread like wildfire. Austria-Hungary targeted Russia and later Serbia, while Montenegro, France, and Britain joined the fray against Austria-Hungary. Japan declared war on Germany on August 23rd, followed by Austria-Hungary's declarations against Japan and Belgium. Romania, despite its alliance with the Central Powers, remained neutral. By September 5, 1914, Russia, France, and Britain formalized their alliance in the Treaty of London, vowing not to make separate peace agreements. This coalition became known as the Allies. Initially, the war was met with enthusiasm across Europe, with patriotic fervor and a belief that the conflict would end quickly. Few foresaw the prolonged devastation that would unfold, reshaping the continent and the world forever. When World War I erupted in August 1914, the Allied powers held significant advantages in terms of demographics, industrial capacity, and naval strength compared to the Central Powers. The Allies boasted a combined population of 265.5 million, nearly double the Central Powers' 115.2 million. This disparity in population translated to a larger pool of manpower and resources. Moreover, the Allies had better access to global trade due to their dominance over oceanic routes, particularly with neutral countries like the United States. Industrial capacity further highlighted the Allies' advantage. In 1913, Great Britain controlled 17% of global trade, surpassing Germany's 12%. While the Central Powers relied on domestic innovation to mitigate shortages, most notably Germany's advanced chemical industry led by Fritz Haber's nitrogen fixation process, the British blockade significantly restricted Germany's imports. This blockade was a major factor in limiting Germany's ability to sustain prolonged warfare. In terms of military strength, the Central Powers relied on disciplined, well-trained armies. Germany alone mobilized 98 divisions organized into 8 field armies, supported by a highly efficient railway system. This infrastructure allowed rapid troop movements, with estimates suggesting that Germany could redeploy 8 divisions from the Western to Eastern Front in just 4.5 days. Austrian forces added another 48 divisions, while the Allies, led by Russia and France, mobilized larger but less organized forces. Russia's 102 divisions, while impressive in number, suffered from slower mobilization and weaker leadership, offsetting their numerical advantage. At sea, the British Royal Navy held nearly 2-to-1 superiority in capital ships, including dreadnought battleships and battlecruisers. The British fleet comprised 20 dreadnoughts, 9 battlecruisers, and 301 destroyers, dwarfing Germany's 14 dreadnoughts and 4 battlecruisers. However, Germany's technological innovations in range finding, torpedoes, and mine warfare posed challenges to British dominance. The Royal Navy's blockade strategy played a pivotal role in the war, gradually weakening Germany's economy by cutting off access to overseas markets. Britain's ability to maintain supply lines for essential goods while crippling the Central Powers' trade highlighted the strategic importance of naval superiority. The Central Powers benefited from their interior lines of communication, enabling faster troop deployments to critical battlefronts. Additionally, the German Army's strong military traditions, combined with a cadre of highly disciplined officers, gave them an edge in tactics and leadership. German commanders excelled in directing large troop formations and exploiting opportunities for flank attacks, often outperforming their Allied counterparts in the early stages of the war. Despite their advantages, the Allies struggled to capitalize on their numerical and industrial superiority due to slower mobilization and logistical challenges. This equilibrium between the Central Powers' organizational efficiency and the Allies' resource superiority set the stage for a prolonged and devastating conflict. The balance of power prevented a quick resolution, turning World War I into a grueling war of attrition that would reshape global history. The planning and execution of war in 1914 were profoundly shaped by advancements in weaponry and significant improvements to existing technologies since the Franco-German War of 1870 to 71. Among the most transformative innovations were the machine gun and rapid-fire field artillery, which redefined the nature of combat. The modern machine gun, perfected in the 1880s and 1890s, was a belt-fed, highly reliable weapon capable of firing 600 bullets per minute with a range exceeding 1,000 yards, 900 meters. This level of sustained firepower turned it into a formidable tool of defense. Meanwhile, developments in field artillery introduced improved breech-loading mechanisms and recoil brakes. Previously, artillery pieces had to be repositioned and re-aimed after each shot due to recoil. Innovations like the French 75mm field gun, which remained stationary during firing, allowed for continuous and accurate bombardment, drastically enhancing battlefield efficiency. When combined with trenches and barbed wire defenses, these weapons gave defenders a significant advantage. Machine guns and rapid-fire artillery could devastate infantry or cavalry units attempting frontal assaults, rendering traditional offensive strategies ineffective. However, despite these advancements, military doctrines lagged behind technological realities. Lessons from the South African War and the Russo-Japanese War had demonstrated the futility of frontal attacks on fortified positions without the element of surprise. Yet many leaders in 1914 underestimated how these modern weapons would force armies into static trench warfare for survival. This gap between technological progress and strategic adaptation was evident in differing national approaches. The French army, driven by a doctrine emphasizing offensive spirit, believed in headlong bayonet charges to overwhelm enemy positions. This approach, however, left French infantry vulnerable to the deadly efficiency of German rifles, machine guns, and artillery. In contrast, German military strategy, influenced by Alfred von Schlieffen, prioritized flanking maneuvers to avoid costly frontal assaults. The Schlieffen Plan aimed to achieve a swift victory by encircling enemy forces, employing reserve divisions alongside regular troops to sustain momentum. German officers also received extensive training in defensive tactics, emphasizing the effective use of machine guns, barbed wire, and fortifications. Ultimately, the deadly effectiveness of these modern armaments outpaced the outdated doctrines of many military leaders. This disconnect contributed to the stalemate and devastating losses that characterized much of World War I. And that's where we'll leave off for now. The advancements in weaponry and the strategies of 1914 set the stage for a war unlike any the world had seen before. In Part 2, we'll dive into the tough years of war, exploring the brutal battles, the challenges of trench warfare, and the human stories behind the front lines. Don't miss it. Make sure to subscribe to History Quickies and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on Part 2. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter of history.